Great, we are live. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talks with Santosh. And today we have a really special guest, Nishkarsh, who is an GitHub Star and he works as a DevOps engineer. So we will be exploring some community created GitHub Actions. That's what Nishkarsh is going to show us today. So pretty excited for it. Thanks a lot, Nishkarsh, for joining us today.
Thanks, Santosh, for the invite. You're doing some amazing work for the community, and I love the tech talks, and hope to do a lot again.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so let's move on and let's start with. Would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure, definitely. My name is Nishkarsh. I am a principal DevOps evangelist and consultant at Status Neo India. Status Neo is basically a global agile firm which deals in cloud native consultancy. Uh, uh, and the domains that we focus on are data, digital, and DevSecOps. Apart from that, I am an avid GitHubber, and I love to contribute towards the open source and teach people about ways to perform and ways to grow their skill set in the field of open source. And I'm also a GitHub star. So that's pretty much it about me.
That's great. That's great. In case you are interested, at the end we will talk a little bit about GitHub Stars, what the program is, and in case you are interested. So otherwise, let's move on. Nishkash, tell us about GitHub Actions. What is a GitHub Action, and what are these different use cases which we have for using GitHub Actions?
Sure, I would love to. So basically, if we skip directly talking about GitHub Actions, like to talk about automation first. Uh, in
Mhm.
the field of IT and software engineer, we always come across jargons like automation, CI/CD, and whatnot.
Mhm.
But understanding them from the deep within is very important. So automation is basically reducing human work, and that means we have to find out which work has to be removed off. Development is something in software engineering which has to be done by humans itself, but there are different tasks which include building the code, checking if there are some test cases errors, if the code quality is correct, deploying it to Artifactory or to the container registry. All of these tasks are not something that developers should work on. These are extra tasks, and these are routine tasks which can be automated. And GitHub Actions is GitHub's solution for automation. So it is basically at its core GitHub CI/CD tool, but and CI/CD, by CI/CD I mean continuous integration and continuous delivery. But apart from that, it's a lot of automation for you. It allows maintainers to have an easy life by automatically reviewing the PRs, that is pull request. And apart from that, you can have notifiers like this. You can send notifications to your Discord or your Slacks, and are always aware of whatever is happening on your repository. And there are lots and lots of amazing GitHub actions created by community, which I'm going to demonstrate today.
Great. I believe, I'm sure you will agree with this. So I believe actually after uh, so many years, GitHub Actions was one of the revolutionary thing which happened to the dev ecosystem. I mean, I have seen some amazing use cases being created by the community, and they are amazing. I mean, I never thought that that is something which can be done by GitHub Actions. I'm sure you are going to cover a lot of them, but what is your thought on that?
Correct. So basically, GitHub Actions launched in 2019, and at that point of time, I was unaware of what automation. But once that feature was released, I got the beta access and I started exploring it, and I realized that technology is not very difficult to handle, and it is extremely easy to create an automation engine by using GitHub Actions. And to be very honest, the more I've used Actions, the more I feel is the first steps are important. You should never fear technology. Once you start building technology, and especially with GitHub producing amazing user friendly or developer friendly tools like GitHub Actions, it is extremely easy to catch on and grow your skill sets in the domain.
Great, agree. So yeah, let's move. You are going to present some of the community GitHub actions. So would you like to share your screen?
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah. Yeah. So just add it. Yeah, let me just add the screen. And yep,
Can you please tell me if my screen is visible?
yes, it is visible.
Okay. So we have already covered the initial slides that I have created, but I'm going to skip all of these. So let's get to the agenda for today. So we'll be talking about community GitHub Actions and GitHub Actions in general. Initially, I'll be talking about GitHub Action 101, that is the introduction to actions, which we also covered a lot of part initially. And then we'll be talking about the first steps. As I said, the first steps to learning a technology or a tool set is extremely important. And that's what I'm going to cover. And I'm going to show how easy to create your first GitHub Actions and host it on GitHub Marketplace. Apart from that, I'm going to cover Maintainers Corner, where I'm going to create maintainers-friendly community GitHub Actions. I'll then move ahead to GitHub Actions core domain, that is CI and CD, and try to replicate an end-to-end pipeline and show how it is so easy to create this pipeline for DevOps. Then I'm going to talk about notifications and how GitHub Actions can help you with that. So I'm going to demonstrate GitHub Actions used to notify the maintainers in their Discord and Slack channels. Apart from that, I'm going to talk about miscellaneous amazing GitHub Actions that the community had created. So this is a quite depiction that I created in my mind. So I talked about automation and its importance. On the left side, you will see some images. Let's skip the robot for a second. There is Siri, there is Google, there is Alexa. All of these devices are our personal digital assistant. They help us by doing tasks which we are not, which can be automated, like telling us what is our today's calendar, what are our today's meetings, and whatnot. You can ask them to play a song as well. Now, imagine in IT, you have a robot that does the non-tedious task for you, that does the work which the developer should really not do. And if you go into the left side, sorry, on the right side, you will see a human who is chilling, who is enjoying the cash because someone is doing their job for them, and they're only working on what they like. So Santosh here is my depiction of what a SDLC life cycle means for me. So this is an entire end-to-end pipeline, which I like to call it. And so let's talk about this. As I said, developers should only focus on coding, and everything apart from it can be automated. So initially, there are developers. I have demonstrated developers around the globe because now in today's era of lockdowns and all of that, we are doing work from home, but still we can collaborate in a distributed environment using hosted cloud-based version control systems like GitHub and all. So we are separated by the geography, but we have cloud-based SCM hosting like GitHub, Azure DevOps, and more. This feeds to the CI and CD pipeline. The CI, or the continuous integration pipelines, has 5 phases for me. I mean, it can differ for different definitions, but these are the core phases. The first one is the build phase. I'm going to take an example. So suppose you are creating a project in Java, then your build tool or the dependency management tool is Apache Maven or Gradle. Similarly, if you're using a React.js or an AngularJS application, you have a NPM for a build tool. Then there are different test frameworks, like for, again, I'm going to take Java example more and more because I'm more acquainted to that. For testing, there are frameworks like APM, then TestNG, JUnit. And next comes reporting tools. So there are different reporting tools like SonarQube. Sorry, it's not a reporting tool. Like Jacoco for code coverage, and PMD for checking the code quality. Then there is SCA, that is static code analysis. Static code analysis will tell you whatever the bugs are, whatever the vulnerabilities are in your code, and the code quality. And for that, there are tools like SonarQube. Then there comes Artifactory. So if you're using Java, you will create jar files or the var files, which are the build or the executable files, and they are hosted on an Artifactory like JFrog and all. All of these processes that I talk about, the CI pipeline, can be automated. And this is why this pipeline in DevOps arena is called continuous integration, because this has to be automated. And I'm going to talk about how you can do this with GitHub Actions in the later demonstration. Apart from that comes the continuous delivery lifecycle. So again, not to be confused with the above layer, another testing phase has come, but this testing is not related to your code. It is related to your servers. So there is performance testing, load testing, penetration testing for security, and a lot of different tests can happen. Apart from that, there is a UAT, that is user acceptance test. You can have alpha and beta users testing your environment before your public release has been created. Then comes the staging environment. So staging is basically a replica of the production environment, but it is not accessible to the real end users. And then comes the production environment, where you deploy your servers. So how can this process be automated? Let's start. So basically, I'm going to skip the slides now, since we have already discussed about GitHub Actions, and we will just go ahead and see the power of actions in action. Okay, so I've created this repository. I'm going to make this public, and I'll ask you, Santosh, to add this in the description of the video so that viewers can use this. Okay, so we'll start with the first step, that is creating the first Hello World GitHub Actions and hosting it on GitHub Marketplace. So I'm going to create a new repository right now. Because for hosting your repository in a marketplace, you actually have to have a single repository, because the repository you are hosting it, GitHub Action Marketplace, there has to be only one single GitHub Action. You cannot have multiple GitHub Actions in a single repository that you're hosting. So let's just give it a unique name. Let's say 11th June. I hope the spelling is right. I'm going to make it a public repository, because if you are not creating a public repository, you cannot post it in GitHub Actions Marketplace. Before I talk about Marketplace, I'm talking it without any context. So we'll go into the GitHub Actions Marketplace, and these are all the amazing GitHub Actions that community as well as the GitHub team have created for us to make our life easy. And you can test this out. I have added the link to this in the repository here, alongside some amazing community GitHub Actions. So these are when GitHub Actions just launched, GitHubber by the tag SGRAS created a repository, and all the amazing GitHub Actions are being tracked here. And this is a very famous repository because people love GitHub Actions, and they are tracking some amazing GitHub Actions here. So I'm creating another new repository. Let's skip these things, although you should add them. But I'll add a license, because without a license, you cannot host your GitHub Actions to Marketplace. And as I said, creating a GitHub Action is extremely easy. You just have to go to your Actions tab in the repository. And once you get here, you have to click on Set up a workflow yourself. And there you go. You have a template GitHub Actions created by GitHub themselves. All the GitHub Actions workflow that you create are stored at the root folder in .github/workflows folder, and they are written in a language called YML. So you can see the file name is main YAML. You can replace it, but I'm going to keep it that way. Let's read the syntax a little bit and see what happens here. The name is basically the name of GitHub Actions you want to give. So let's say Hello World, because we're creating a Hello World GitHub Actions. The first thing you do in IT, whenever you're learning new thing, is Hello World. Then GitHub Actions are triggered by events happening. And if you are acquainted with GitHub, you know there are events like creating a push event, or creating a pull request, that is an event, or creating releases of your repository, that is an event. So on basically is a keyword that tells when this GitHub Actions has to get triggered. So I'm going to say only push for now. And even on push events, you can specify which branches to look for. So I'm going to go on the default branch, which is the main branch, and going to let this flow. Workflow dispatch basically means that this automation action you can also trigger manually. So I'm going to let it be as well. Then basically you can list a number of jobs that you want this action to perform, and runs on basically means which parent OS you want this application to run on. So I'm going to use Ubuntu latest. Ubuntu is basically a Linux flavor, and you can run the various Linux commands on here. Then if you see the first step, most of the GitHub repositories, GitHub Actions start with this step, that is actions checkout. Checkout basically means everything that you have written in the repository can be used inside this GitHub Actions. And I'm going to tell you the significance of this when I'm creating more important GitHub Actions later in the demonstration. Then you can run shell commands. Shell basically for Linux can be bash shells, z shell, and C shell, and more. So you can run a single line command. So here it is, echo hello world. Echo basically means a print like statement, like a print in Python or a printf in C. Then you can use run a multi-line script. So I'm going to show you some commands that really matter with a multi-line script. Basically, I'm going to type ls. That is going to list all the files that are there in the specific repository where this action is running. And then I'm going to type pwd. Pwd is present working directory. So it's going to tell me the directory where this action is running. And you have to create a commit message. My first action. This has to be meaningful, but right now it's not important to do a meaningful task. And once you click on commit, you have created your first GitHub Actions, and it was extremely easy to do so. You did not even have to learn how to code. You just have to understand the syntax that they are giving you, and you can build on top of that. It's going to take a few seconds, and we are going to get the results. And Santosh, here we are. The first actions has run successfully. So the first line script was printing hello world. So hello world is there. And in the multi-line script, I wrote ls and pwd. So till now, I've just created a license file in my repository. So it shows a license file. And pwd basically tells me what is the directory. So this is the default directory that the GitHub Actions uses. This is the name of my repository, and it creates a folder with the same name as the repository inside it. After you have done this, I guess you have to create a README as well before hosting your GitHub Actions. Sorry, my bad. I'll have to add a README. So let's create a readme.md file. Let's say hello world actions and type in this is a demo for GitHub Actions. And then I'm going to commit this. Once that has happened, we can go ahead and release it to GitHub Actions Marketplace. So I've written the code for it, so we can quicken this up. Let's add a file. So to host your GitHub Actions to the GitHub Action Marketplace, you have to create a file called action.yml at the root of your repository. So I'm going to copy this, and the syntax basically means you will have to name. So this name would appear on GitHub Actions Marketplace that you are hosting on. The description is basically alongside what will come. You can name your author, use your server as the author. Then the input and output you can specify. And the GitHub action that I created was using Dockers because we are using a Linux base. You can also create GitHub Actions by using JavaScript if you are acquainted with that. And then you can create the branding. So what will appear on Actions Marketplace? You can add a photo here, but I'm going to choose a color right now and create this Actions file. So once you have done this, okay, my bad. So I created an actions.yml file here rather than on the right repository. Sorry, I'm getting a little nervous.
It's okay. Live coding is hard, so don't worry.
So hopefully now, if I refresh, I'm gonna get create release. And here you go. So it is not difficult to create a release to Marketplace. Now you just have to create a release, and your GitHub Actions will be hosted on GitHub Marketplace. So you have to accept the agreement before you can create this release. Just do that, and it will create a validation whether you have everything required to create the release. Then you can choose the category of GitHub Actions you have created. Do I see a relevant category that I've created for? I don't. So let's say container CI, or you can use community as well. And give a tag version, so it's 1.0. And I guess release title will be 1.0, and you can publish a release. It will ask for my password. I hope this is still correct. And there you go. You have created this release in the GitHub Actions Marketplace. So you have an option called View on Marketplace. If you click on that, you can see your GitHub Actions is hosted on Marketplace. And it was not difficult at all. And anyone can create GitHub Actions and host them on Marketplace. So this is how a community create the GitHub Actions and host it on Marketplace.
Oh, that's great. Pretty easy. I mean, generally deployments are not this easy, I believe.
Correct.
I mean, you already know that, so I don't have to.
I completely know that. So deployments are difficult. I'm going to come on that side as well. So let's move to the next part. So we have to create some GitHub actions that are helpful for the maintainers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that as well. I'm Because we are short on time, so I'm going to create only a few GitHub actions that help the maintainers. If you go
Mm-hmm.
to the bottom of the page where you create a new GitHub actions, you will see some actions that help the maintainers. So I'm going to set up this GitHub actions, which is the greetings action. Whenever someone new outside your organization or someone who has not contributed to your repository comes in and creates their first issue or a first pull request, this GitHub action would give them a custom message so that they feel involved until and unless the maintainers come and review their issue or the pull request. So let's read the syntax very quickly. So name is greetings, it can be anything, and it runs on two pull events, that is the pull request event and the issues event, as I told you. Apart from that, it
Mm-hmm.
runs on Ubuntu latest again. And one thing that is important here is this. To run this GitHub actions, you have to specify your GitHub token. And where you specify those GitHub tokens are, if go to the settings tab of your repository. Inside that, go to the secrets in the sidebar, and you can specify your tokens here. I have already done that because doing it on the live stream would not really be a good thing to do. So I
Yeah.
have saved my token here, but I will tell you how to generate those tokens. You just go to settings of your account, and that go to developer settings, and then you go to personal access tokens. Here you can generate a new token and you can store that in your secrets file. Once you do that, you can create a custom message for the issue or the pull request that will happen. I'm not going to change that for now, and just create this greetings.yaml. So
Mm-hmm.
what will happen now is my greetings.yaml would run. Oh, sorry, it would not run because it was not going to get triggered on a push action.
Yeah.
It will get triggered on a pull request or a issue action. So let's go ahead and create a small issue. Let's say unrequired issue, because it's really not required to create an issue at this point of time.
Mm-hmm.
Is this actions working? And it's going to throw some message that was written by default by the main creator of the GitHub Actions. Let's see if it's running. Oh yes, it is running.
Yeah.
Once it's run successfully, I think I'll get the message. Uh, let's wait. Anything interesting, Santosh, about this that you want to ask?
Yeah. So there was a question from Lars, and I'm sure this is a pretty common question. So is it possible to have multiple actions hosted and published in the same repo? So is it possible right now? Because
I don't think so. So basically, as far as I remember from the documentation, I think that your GitHub Actions can be hosted if and only if there is a one action in your repository. You can have multiple
uh
actions definitely, but I don't remember if you can host uh, multiple actions from a same repository.
okay. So I think Lars already mentioned it. So Lars says that I think it was recently done. So you can actually create a public action in every folder. So you can have multiple folders with separate action.yml, and it will do that.
Sure, good to know. I'll read more around that.
Yeah,
So
even I.
this
And
GitHub
there is
Actions has.
another. Okay, it's completed. So apart from that, there is another question from Lars. So his question is GitHub Actions as serverless a serverless function. Will it happen?
Hopefully
What's
it
your
should
thought?
happen. Hopefully it should happen, because we all want serverless because it's the next gen solutions, and
Hmm.
everyone wants to remove the infrastructure part. We just want to host our code and it should result in an output. It should be a black box. So hopefully in the near future, serverless GitHub Actions are coming soon.
But I'm sure it will. So right now, actually, GitHub Actions are getting abused a lot. So do you
Correct.
think it will not abuse? I mean, people will start abusing more if this functionality comes. Probably they can make it paid if
I'm
if
sure. I'm
possible.
sure GitHub would think about that and keep it in mind, because there were some issues recently about GitHub Actions, like people were mining it for cryptocurrency, but those were handled. So GitHub has a good feedback management system, and they do keep a checkout on these or all of these issues, and hopefully that those things will not happen.
Let's see.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this GitHub Actions has run successfully, and I hope I'll have a response here on this side, and it says it GitHub Actions tell me message that will be displayed on the user's first issue. So it's not really something significant or of sense, but it has worked itself. We can create a custom message, but that is for another day. So let's talk about the real use case of GitHub Actions by a small end-to-end pipeline. So I'm going to create an Apache Maven project, and Apache Maven is a build tool and a dependency management tool for Java and the projects that you create in Java. So I'm going to go to my local machine and open my Visual Studio. So I've already cloned this repository. I'm going to pull the latest. Once I've done that, I have also created Apache Maven project. So I'm going to copy that to here. But before that, let's know why not use some important features of GitHub that they provide. Like I'm going to create a GitHub. I'm going to create a GitHub. Sorry, I'm going to create an Apache Maven project in GitHub. So let's use a feature called Git ignores. Git ignores are basically is a file where you can tell GitHub to get, or even the Git VCS, to not track files which are of no importance to source control. So basically, jar files, text files, PDF files, which are not code files, are not important and should not be stored in a version control and should be ignored. For that, let's create a .git ignore file for Maven. So when we do that here, amazing feature on GitHub, it already gives us a list of community created or a GitHub maintained Git ignores. So I'm going to use Maven. And you will see a lot of things that come here. These things are related to Apache Maven release process. And this is target where the real jar or var files are stored. So I'm going to create this Git ignore file. Apart from that, I'm going to create a significant GitHub Actions that is used for build checks. So as I said, Apache Maven is a build tool, right? You create a Java code and Apache Maven will create a jar file out of it. But it is a standard practice you should know, and everyone who is using GitHub should know. You should never commit directly to your master branch or the default branch, which is now main for GitHub. And so that's why pull requests are used. You should never commit directly to master branch. If you want to collaborate on the repository, you should create that in a separate branch and create a pull request to the default branch. But to simplifies the use case or the life of maintainers, the maintainers should not go and do non-required tasks like checking if the pull request is correct, it is building correctly or not. Why not create a GitHub Actions which creates a build and tests it for you? So let's go ahead and create an Apache Maven build. Whenever a pull request is created, it will test if the build Apache Maven is building correctly or not. Sorry, it's late in the night and I'm feeling a little dumb today.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
So I'm going to create a maven.yml file. And name is Java CI with Maven. And as I said, it will run on pull request onto the main or the default branch. Whenever somebody comes and creates a pull request, it will create a build out of the source code and check if it is running successfully or not. If it is running successfully, then you should merge it. Otherwise, you should not merge it.
Okay.
And all it does is installs installs Java 11 on your Ubuntu machine, and then runs mvn clean install. So clean install is basically a goal in Apache Maven. Clean deletes pre-existing target files or the jar files, and install is basically a life cycle that creates the jars or vars for you.
Okay.
So let's create this, and it will not get triggered obviously because it's on a pull action pull request. So on my local machine, let's come here and create a new branch. So we do that with git branch, and let's say mvn for Maven. We're gonna check it out. We're gonna move to that branch, and as you see, the branch shifts from main to mvn. And I have stored the Maven sample Maven project. So in my local machine, I'm gonna copy that. it should be, I guess this, or I don't remember the name of the project. Hello. So it's basically sample Maven project, and I'm going to copy that. Let's use a little Linux and say -rf, that is recursive and forcefully. And every content of this project should come on dot, which is the current folder. So if I type in ls, you can see the src and the pom.xml has come, and we already have it here. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. And for people who are new to Apache Maven, basically Apache Maven creates is used for Java. It's a dependency management and a hierarchy tool. So it creates hierarchy. All the main files or the source files are stored in your main, inside that Java, inside your package name, and then there is a file name. Similarly, there is a test folder for the similar hierarchy, and your dependencies are stored in a file called pom.xml. For people who are more acquainted to JavaScript and React, at least as far as I know, there is a file called package.json, which does a similar task.
Okay.
So if I go to just before creating a pull request, I'm going to test this project out locally. So mvn clean install similar task that I created in GitHub Actions. I'm going to run it here to test if it is working correctly or not, and hopefully it is running correctly. It must not take more than 2 seconds. That's it. It is building successfully, and this is what we want. It should not fail in the CI, otherwise we will have to reject the pull request. So let's push these changes here. If I do git status, I have to add these. And since target file is not been here, should not be here, I'm going to go. I created a git ignore, but it's not here, I guess. Git checkout master. Sorry, master branch does not exist. It's the main branch. Correct. And I'm going to go do a git pull. So the git ignore should come right away. And I'm going to go ahead back to git checkout master. So, my bad. MVN. And once we are back on the Maven repository, we have to merge these changes. So git merge master, sorry, main again. my bad.
It's okay.
So we are synced with the master branch. If I do git status again, you should see that the target folder is not in tracked by GitHub. Sorry, git VCS again. So I'm going to do git add dot git commit Apache Maven project, and I'm going to push these changes. So you have to tell that your upstream is origin, which is the default link name, and your branch name, that is MVN. And these changes are pushed to the branch called MVN. If you are acquainted to GitHub CLI, you can create a pull request from the command line, but I'm going to do the newbie task and go to the branches from here and then create a pull request.
That's what I do.
It is what it is. So we are on the MVN branch. Sorry, we are on the MVN branch, not on the main branch, but we can still create a pull request out of it. So when I click on create a pull request, now my GitHub Actions would get triggered on the pull task. And you see two actions are being triggered: the greetings, because it's my first time I'm creating a pull request on this repository, and the Java CI. And you should only be allowed to merge this pull request if this CI passes, right? And while this might take 1 minute or so to build, I'm going to shed light on amazing GitHub feature that they have incorporated. I'll go to settings, and I'm going to go here and say allow auto merge. So once again, the maintainer should not do a manual task of coming on this pull request again and again and seeing if the CI has passed or not, just to click on merge pull request. If the CI is passing successfully, you can create allow auto merge, and it will get automatically merged into the default branch. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just shed light on that, and my CI has successfully passed, and I am going to merge this pull request. So now my Maven project is on the repository here. Let's move ahead. So Santosh, as I said, Apache Maven, the builds result in jars or vars files, and those are executables that should be stored in an artifactory. There are different artifactories available, like Azure has its Artifactory feeds. Then there is Nexus, there is JFrog. GitHub has its own solution to this that is called GitHub Packages, and it allows you to host different types of packages like npm, Maven, NuGet, and many more. So I'm going to push these GitHub packages, these jar files that I'm going to create with my Maven project directly to GitHub Packages by using GitHub Actions next. So to specify which URL, that is the package registry followed by your GitHub username followed by your repository name, your Maven project should look to, you have to add this into the dependency file, that is the pom.xml. So I'm going to copy that, and I think I'm still on the MVN branch. I'm going to switch to the main branch. Finally, I wrote main at one go. I'm going to fill the latest changes, and now I'm going to specify the repository here. What that basically means is that when I type in MVN deploy from my local machine, I can push the jar files that I have created directly to the Maven registry.
Interesting.
It will take a little time, and it will push those changes. I see errors here. Unprocessable entity. So I guess I have to do a clean install first. Yeah, so I clean installed it on another branch. I did not have the target file here, so that might be the cause of the issue. Hopefully this should work. Otherwise, I'm going to cry.
It's okay. So meanwhile, we can take this question. I think Guru Raj has this question. Can we run unit test same as built on GitHub Actions?
Hopefully, yes. Obviously, if you there should be an option to run those tests. And once again, it is failing. I do not have an idea why.
Unprocessable entity. Probably version. I mean, in NPM generally it fails in case you are trying to deploy the same version.
Correct. Basically, I deployed this project in the morning as well, so that's why it is causing an issue. So basically, this should be working. I'll go straight ahead to another repository that I created in the morning while I was trying to prepare for the demonstration, and go to the awesome actions. And I'm going to talk about this GitHub Actions. We are also short on time, so I'm going to skip these and move towards the notification after this. So what this GitHub Action would do, it is similar to the previous GitHub Action. It will clean install first so that the jar files exist in the Docker image where this GitHub Action is running. After that, you're going to publish this. And then deploy would happen, and it will use your GitHub token and push your Maven files, the jar files that you have created to the Apache Maven repository. So if I go into awesome actions, you can see that these packages already exist here. So this is a GitHub package, and that's what you are saying is correct. I'm deploying it again with the same version, and that's why it is giving me an issue. But you see that GitHub action is already working. Okay, so I'm going to do another task here. That is, let's leave Apache Maven and the jar files for a second. Let's talk about Dockers for a file. What about Dockers? So people say that Java is platform independent, and once you create a Java project on one machine, it should run on all versions, on all machines, right? But that is actually not true, because you might be using different versions of Java. Like you have created a project in Java 11, and the latest Java is Java 16. There might be some functions that you have used that have been deprecated and not being supported anymore. This issue would not happen when you're using Dockers or containers in general. Containers are really platform independent, and they are the future. So if you've created a container image, you can share those anywhere across the world. And if a machine has a container runtime, that container image would run successfully every time. So platform independence is truly visible in Dockers. So rather than pushing Maven jar files on Git packages, let's push the Docker images. Let's encapsulate those jar files in a Docker image and push them. So basically, I'm going to copy files from here now, so that we are extremely short on time.
It's
To
okay. I
create a
mean,
doc,
you can take some extra time if it's possible.
definitely, I would. I'm not going to go without doing everything I have prepared. So to create a Docker image, basically you have to write a Docker file,
Mhm.
and the syntax is pretty easy. From is the first, and it is a mandatory command, and it tells what the base image you want to use. It's a Java project, so I'm going to use an OpenJDK image with the 11 version, and I'm going to expose 8080 port. So this is the port where this endpoint would be exposed. Apart from that,
Mhm.
as I said, my jars file or the executable files are always in the target folder. So add basically means whatever you have outside the Docker image, you can add those files inside the Docker container. So add will go into the target folder, pick up the jar files. Star.jar is a wild character, and it will fetch all the jar files and paste them as a test.jar in my Docker image. An entry point is the first command that would run in your Docker container. So just to explain the jargons, there are two main entities in the world of Dockers. That is a Docker image and a Docker container. Uh, so a quick and an easy explanation would be, think of that as a class and an object. Class is the template that you create, and object is its runtime. Similarly, Docker image is the template that you create or a base image, and the containers are actually its runtime instances. So this Docker file creates a Docker image. When you run the Docker image into a Docker container, entry point would be the first command that would fire, and it will execute this jar file by using Java.
Mhm.
So I'm going to copy this Docker file and go here on my repository, add a file called Docker file. Wow, that's weird. And I'm going to push this on the default root of the repository. I'm going to create this GitHub Actions quickly. I hope I can copy it from here. Go to Actions tab, click on New Workflow. And once again, even though I'm copying it from my README file, these all GitHub Actions are created from the community, and all of them are being credited in the README file. So basically, the two links that I've written in the README files, these actions are taken from there and created by the community. So if you look into this GitHub Actions, you will see that it requires two secrets again. That is the username of your Docker Hub and your password. So I've already stored that in my secrets file. It will create a Docker image called your username, that is your Docker username, followed by the name of the image that you're creating. So that's I've written, and I'm going to create it on a push. So if I commit this, okay, let's
Main.m.
rename this to docker.yml, and hopefully it will work now. While it runs, I can take a question.
I think we don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
Why there are two?
I don't have an idea why there are two, but maybe just because I refreshed it, that's why it happened. So
Probably.
there are a lot of steps that are happening. I'm going to uh, remove this. So set up Java. So basically Java 11 is installed in my Docker image. Then it is creating a build. Once the build
Mhm.
is created, the target folder would be inside the Docker image, right? Docker image where this
Okay.
GitHub Actions is running.
Mhm.
Then it will create the Docker image by using the Docker file that I've written. Then it will log into Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is where my image would be stored. And then Docker push would happen. And it will push the Docker image created inside the GitHub Actions to the Docker Hub. Docker Hub is
Oh.
basically GitHub, as GitHub is for source code, Docker Hub is for Docker images. And this
Mhm.
action has run successfully. And if I go to Docker Hub, I think I have already logged in. So it's hub.docker.com. And it's pushed a few seconds ago from my GitHub Actions. I did not even open Docker Hub. to push an image
Oh.
from GitHub Actions. So that's how it's simple and how encompassing GitHub Actions is. It includes a lot of different tool sets and just abstracts them for you so that it is easy for you. Next up, I'm going to talk about Dependabot. So Dependabot basically was a product created by independent people alongside GitHub. It was called a product called Dependabot Preview. As I said, uh, npm has a dependency file called package.json. Apache Maven has a dependency file called pom.xml. Python has requirement.txt. It basically lists down the dependencies that your source code project requires. And Dependabot is basically a tool that keeps a regular check on those dependency files and see if latest version has come in the market. So I do not know about npm, but Apache Maven has a central repository called the Maven Central Repository, where the latest dependencies are stored. Similarly, Python has PyPy, and Dependabot keeps a check and sees if there is a version that is new inside the central repository that can be incorporated inside your project and whether it is compatible or not. So you can create a GitHub Actions, not an action, it's a config file inside your project, and it will keep a check on your dependencies. But a quick reminder, the Dependabot file should be written in on .github folder, not .github/workflows. You create a dependabot.yml file and leave this syntax here. Version is basically the version of Dependabot tool that you're using. And Dependabot has now been acquired by GitHub, and they have incorporated that inside GitHub as well. So to see that, you have to go inside the insights folder. Once you go the inside folder, you can go to dependency graph and move to the Dependabot tab, and you can enable Dependabot from here as well. And you will get a UI to see the dependencies, but I'm going to write a code because I like to code a lot of tools. So basically, package ecosystem, basically we're using Apache Maven. Directory is where your dependency file exists. So by pom.xml is at the root of the repository. So I'm using /. And schedule, you can schedule it for a weekly check, but I'm using the default daily checks. And every day from now, it will keep a check on my pom.xml and see if a version can be incremented or not.
Awesome. So daily, you're courageous if you're actually enabling different word for daily check.
It's a sample project, I can do that. but I won't say do it for every project.
Okay.
So let's go to another amazing GitHub Actions that can help a maintainer's life. So it's not easy to stay always on pull request and the Actions tab and not work at all. Maintainers also have work to do. So instead of sitting on a laptop and staring at your screen at all the time, you can create a notification center. You can use GitHub Actions to trigger events and notify them inside your basically messaging applications like Discord and Slack. I'll have to open Discord to show this in action as well. And before I create this GitHub action, if you want to really know who is the creator of this action from the community, you can see the users tag. As you see, Santosh, the first name that you see is the tag of the person who has created it. So you just copy it, you go to GitHub / the name of the person who has created this GitHub Actions, and you can go ahead and thank them for the GitHub Actions that you're using. So this is how community works. You learn and grow with the community. So to create a Discord Messenger GitHub Actions, I'll go to my Discord. My friends are playing, so I'm a little jealous with them. So you go inside a server. So I've created a Nishkarsh Palace, so it's my gaming name. Please ignore this with all seriousness. So inside your server, go into a channel where you want your bot from GitHub Actions to send messages, and click on Edit Channel. Inside that, you will see Integrations tab. What you will do now is create a webhook, and a default name is given. I don't mind that. You can add your image as well, but I'm going to leave that. And your credentials, that you have to store in GitHub so that your GitHub is authenticated to your Discord application. You have to copy this webhook URL, correct? After that, you have to go to your settings tab. Once you are here, go to secrets. You will have to create 2 secrets. And I'm going to share these because I do not have a knack for Discord. You can copy them, but I'll go to webhook ID. So there is a pattern to this URL, webhook URL that I've copied. This is the Discord URL, the API that they're using. After the slash, before the next slash is the GitHub webhook ID, right?
Okay.
And this is the webhook ID that I've created. Let's go back and create another repository secret, that is webhook token. And the webhook token is everything that remains after this slash. So you have created the webhook ID and the webhook token. Now you can create your GitHub Actions, and it will send the messages that you want to your GitHub, to your Discord application. So I'm going to quickly copy this code and go to Actions, create a new action. I see 2 pull requests, and hopefully my depender bot is working.
It is.
And it is failing. So it is what it is, because my Docker up CI is failing for some issues. I don't know why. Let's ignore.
Let's ignore depend bot as we do.
Definitely. So what I was on, I was going to create a Discord GitHub Actions. I go into a new, let's create, why I'm on Scala right now. This is me extremely nervous right now. Create a new workflow, set up a workflow yourself. This time I remember to rename this. So let's say Discord Maven. Your name is Discord Messenger, so it will basically be on the Actions tab. I'm going to send everything on push and pull request on the default branch, that is the main branch. And it will require my webhook ID and webhook token that I've already stored the secrets. It will use the username Nishkarsh, again my GitHub tag, my gaming tag, and it will send the message. So the event that has triggered it will come inside your Discord application. So this is not a meaningful name, but you can create meaningful messages like this GitHub author has created this event at this specific time with this commit hash, and you can play around this and it would be pretty easy to do. But for the demonstration sake, let's create this GitHub Actions and see it in work. Let's go here. So unlike multiple CI platforms available that are alternative to GitHub Actions, GitHub Actions allows us to freely use parallel actions. So there are multiple actions running simultaneously rather than waiting for one action to complete and followed by the next one. So that is why GitHub Actions is amazing again. I got a notification in my Discord, which means this is working. If I go into Actions and I have received this, so a bot says push event triggered this message from GitHub. So that's how easy it was to connect your GitHub Actions to your Discord. Another famous application, which is more official, more tech companies use Slack than Discord, obviously. So let's create GitHub Actions for Slack as well. Finding the token is a little difficult, not that difficult, but it is very easy in Discord. To create a Slack token, you have to go to their website called Slack API. I already have it bookmarked here. You can create a new application, and I'm going to create it from scratch. Let's give it a meaningful name. Let's say it's GitHub bot. And I've created a test workspace in Slack called, again, my gaming name. Don't mind that. And I'll to install this bot application that you have created here into your Slack workspace. You will have to go into the app home and specify some scopes here. Let's review some scopes to add. Then there is a bot access, bot token scopes. You can add a OAuth scope. We want to write messages, that is chat write, right? So every time GitHub Actions work, this bot writes to our channels. Once you add a scope, you must get a token. Where is that token? I do not see it.
Bot token scope and bot token edit. So it says
It definitely comes on the top of the screen, but it did not for some weird reason right now.
probably some new release.
No, I just tested it in the morning.
So they pushed on Friday.
Let's create a new application again. I'm going to do this quickly. Let's take gibberish. Let's hope doing something stupid works.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go an app home again. Let's do this again.
Mhm.
Let's add a redirect URL as well. I'm going to type in my GitHub name,
Mhm.
www.github.com/Nishkarsh Raj. Hello, HTTPS. And add this. Then you can add an auth scope. Again, it's going to be chat, right? Hopefully, I get my token somewhere. Am I sleepy or are you also not seeing this?
No, I mean it says a token has been created, but not sure where it is. So bot token scope and an auth token, use auth token. Where is that? Go to app home. This is what it says. Automatically generated. Yeah. So you can see it says auth token for your workspace has been generated. These auth tokens. Probably you can click
Okay,
on
so
auth token.
okay, no. I think if I click on install to workspace, then I would see it if
Oh,
I'm
okay.
correct. Okay, let's install this on the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, we
Ah,
finally did
okay.
it. So I'm going to copy this and I'm not going to lose this again.
Uh-huh.
I'll go to my Slack here. Let's go to Noisecast, and you will see this application is here, and it is not named that it should be. But I want to add this in the general channel. Okay, so I'll go to this, and I'm going to settings. I don't see it here for weird
Probably you
reasons.
have to click add apps and then it will be available.
Thanks a lot. I'm really feeling sleepy.
Yes. Yeah, it's fine.
So so this bot is added into the channel and it has write access as we created it. So we
Mm-hmm.
move to GitHub Actions again finally and create this actions. Copy this code. Let's close some tabs which are unnecessary. Move to actions again. Create a new workflow. Going to rename it first so that we don't get an issue. And now we are going to see the name again. Just a quick check. It's called Slack Chat Messenger. It will run on push and pull request onto the default branch. It will be running using the Ubuntu latest machine, and it requires a setting called Slack bot token, which I forgot. So I think it's good that I saw the code first before committing it directly. Let's go to the secrets tab, new repository secret, and well, Slack bot token it is. And wow, I think it's not lost yet. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we are able to create this token. Move
Mm-hmm.
ahead back here, and I hope everything is fine. Once this runs, I think I should see, hi, this is a test bot in my Slack. Let's close the tabs and wait inside here on the Slack and wait. Any questions those till then?
Ah, no, it's absolutely fine. I think there are no questions so far.
Let's go to Slack chat messenger. I got a notification in Discord, so the
Yeah.
actions worked again. I'll wait for the Slack thing to do. It says it has built successfully, and we
Ah,
get the message, "Hi, this is a test watch," from GitHub by using a GitHub Actions.
oh,
So you can
that's
create a
cool.
meaningful message as well. It is
Hmm.
extremely cool. So apart from that, the only thing that's left, we are already a lot ahead of the time. But one final actions that I would like to share is something that I really came across today, but I love it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So as Santosh, if I go onto my GitHub profile, this is something that everyone, this feature is something everyone uses. That is the profile readme, right? You can,
Mm-hmm.
if someone visits your profile, you can tell them what you are and about yourself.
Right.
But there was always itch inside me to uh, show the GitHub skyline, right?
Oh,
Skyline. I don't
Skyline.
know.
Yeah, skyline.github.com.
I just checked it out yesterday, but I do not know why it's not here. Oh, it's
Probably you
GitHub.
clear your history. Ah, is it is?
No, no, I'm not like that. So basically, right. So I wanted to incorporate this skyline inside my file with me, right? But I was unable to because it creates a 3D image in a .stl format, and you for
Right.
right now at least you cannot incorporate directly in your GitHub profile readme. So I went to my friends in the community, tested it out, and it's giving a sound that I just got afraid of. So I went to the community, and once again, this is the creator of this repository.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to just check it out. This person created an amazing GitHub Actions, which allows you to add different plugins inside your profile readme called the metrics
Yeah.
repository, right?
Uh-huh.
And you can add your account details, your organization details, your isometric commit calendar. But I finally found the skyline feature here. That is this, and I fell in love with this. I want to incorporate that, but I just came across it today. I'll hopefully do that.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from it, I'm going to copy this. So basically, this is another plugin that he created. What this
Mm-hmm.
does is it gives you a list of everything that you have done, the number of commits you have created, the number of pull requests, the number of issues you have created in a .svg format, which is an image format, and you can directly copy that to your GitHub profile readme.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm going to go here and create the final action of the day. Go to new workflow. Let's replace this and call it metrics.yml. I hope my GitHub token is already here. One thing new that
Right.
you can see, this GitHub Actions will not get triggered by events like pull, push, and release. It will get triggered by a schedule. So basically, in the world of Linux or Starnix, there's a tool called cron, and it allows you to
Right.
schedule your jobs, right? And it follows a star mechanism, and as it is already giving you a read description. Basically, you can specify
Okay.
which hour, day, time, and month you want this action to run. So zero means, I guess, every hour at the 0th minute. I think I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm a little busy with my mind. So hopefully, user is basically the username. It is a user tag. It's my tag right now. It will create a metric.svg file inside the repository when it runs, and it will take a little time to run. So while it is working, I'm done with my presentations. So we can take up the QA before we see the results of the metrics assignment. If you have any questions.
Okay. Probably Anurag had one question, but Lars already answered this. So it was related to the running GitHub Actions locally. So
Uh, Basically, all the GitHub actions I've demonstrated today run on GitHub's remote servers using Dockers, right? As I told about
mhm.
Dockers. So obviously, you can test this out entirely locally. I
Yeah,
I do not remember the name correctly, but
yeah. This is
I
what
guess
Lars input tab name
but
equals to.
correct. But there was another repository that I came across called, I do not remember, it started with N and it was called Act. So it allowed us to
Mhm.
run GitHub Actions locally. I guess I was
Oh, okay.
Nektar, GitHub Actions. Let's search for it because I'm also interested in that now. Yes, it was Nectos. So I was remembering Nectar.
Okay.
So this is a repository that allows you to run your GitHub Actions locally, and it is a very famous repository, which means it is a good thing. So
Mhm.
if you want to test your GitHub Actions locally, check this out. Check this repository out. It allows you to run all the GitHub Actions locally before creating them on the GitHub platform itself.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So it has run successfully, and as I said, after running successfully, it will create a metric.svg file. So let's go here, and I think it's called GitHub-metrics.svg file. And if you see it, it will tell you about your entire journey on GitHub.
Wow,
So this is
that's
a
cool.
this is the SVG
Amazing.
file, right? I'm going to copy this
Mhm.
file name. So this is the README of your repository. I'm going to copy this here, but you can obviously create this in your profile README as well. So
Mhm.
we are using Markdown right here. So people who are unaware about Markdown, it's exclamation marks. Basically, whatever link you are going to pass in here, it will create an image out of it. If I preview it, you can see the SVG file comes here. You can center align it if you want to. And now if you go to the README file, you see this metrics coming as your README file. You can move it to your profile README and it will be amazing.
That's this is nice.
So that's all from today. And thank you again, Santosh, for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Nishkarsh, for joining and showing us those amazing community created GitHub Actions. I mean, community is what actually making GitHub Actions amazing, I would say, because the way the community is treating GitHub Actions, right? I mean, they are getting involved, creating more GitHub Actions every day, making it available for free. I think it is just pushing the maintainers. I mean, they are of course saving a lot of time to the open source maintainers which are there. So thanks a lot to all the developers who are actually creating GitHub Actions and making it available.
Correct. I mean, all the credits to them. And if you want to check out all the repositories and all the actions that I've tested out, as I mentioned, they are inside my link. Santosh will add the repository link
Yeah.
into the description of the YouTube, and you can check them out and thanks them by giving a star on the repositories.
Yeah, sure. And okay, so apart from this, would you like to promote anything, Nishkarsh, on the channel?
Uh, I do not want to do a cheap plugin here, but I do want to talk about GitHub Stars platform, as you mentioned in the
Uh,
beginning.
right.
And everyone is a star for me. Everyone in the community is a star for me. I am no special person that I'm a GitHub star. Because if I tell you truthfully, I'm 22 years old. I'm just going to pass out next month. I'm still not graduated yet,
Oh,
but
wow.
I just do things that everyone can. Basically, if I
Mhm.
talk about my journey till now, I've been working on GitHub since 2018, but in 2019 I was inspired by people on LinkedIn and Twitter. So people were trying to learn and share their knowledge. The knowledge share is extremely important, and they were doing that by performing a challenge called hashtag 100 days of code. So they
Mhm.
were learning every day and sharing that in a public repository on GitHub and tweeting about it or sharing it as a LinkedIn post. And I thought, why not? I cannot do it. As I said initially, the first step that you take to learn something, even if you fail, it beats the weakness out of you. You should beat the weakness out of you. Once you achieve the first step, all the steps are extremely easy. So I failed a lot initially, but after that, I learned a lot as well in the field of DevOps. I learned end-to-end pipelines and whatnot. And after that, I started promoting open source practices. So I'm going to talk about, as you said, if you want to have a promotions or sort, I love my college, my university, GitHub UPS, that is University of Petroleum and Energy Studies in Dehradun. They
Mhm.
are a huge promoter of open source. So basically, my teachers, my faculty, Mr. Monit Kapoor and many others, created a community called the Open Community, which is the first Asian community to sign up with the Linux Foundation. And we were able to promote open source and talk about GitHub a lot. So I myself hosted a lot of meetups promoting that to the students. We even, alongside my teachers' help, created a movement on Twitter called hashtag 100 days of code at UPS, that is our college. And people, many students, around 800 or 900 students of ours, started learning GitHub and contributing a lot. After that, I also started taking parts in community events like Hacktoberfest, that is Digital Ocean uh, annual event. And I also started speaking in different conferences like the Confab conference and the GitHub satellite event. So everything that I did was nothing special. Anyone can do it. Helping others is extremely important. And I'm extremely grateful to GitHub to actually think that I was a GitHub star.
Agreed, agreed. So that's amazing to know. So I thought you are working somewhere. So you mentioned it, principal DevOps
Correct.
evangelist.
I'm actually also working. So I took an early leave from a university. I'm on self-study mode, and I'm working as a principal DevOps evangelist at Status New.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, uh, of course, the era has changed, right? I mean, when we were in college, there was nothing. So even the internet was growing, and now it is at another level. So that's
Correct.
amazing. I mean, I'm happy to know about your university driving those initiatives to actually make sure that more developers are contributing to open source. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. And thanks again, Nishkarsh, for joining us. So in case anyone has question, where they can reach out, Nishkarsh.
Definitely.
I
My
mean,
socials are in
what?
the description of the YouTube repository, and I
Okay.
would keep a check on the YouTube, and I will respond as many as I can.
Okay, cool. That's great. Okay, so thanks a lot again, everyone, for joining us today. And the amazing GitHub actions which I saw. Because I was even not aware of those. So thanks again for presenting those, Nishkarsh. And on closing notes, we are going to meet again next week. So next week we have two episodes coming up. One is on 15th June, where we will have one of the team members from Julia Lang. I'm sure you are aware of that language. So we are going to talk more about Julia Lang, and then we will again meet on Friday. Let me check. So second. And yep. So next Friday we have Minko Getche, who works at Google in Angular team. So he's one of the dev advocate for Angular. So we will be talking about writing compilers. So in case you are interested to learn how to write your own compiler, feel free to join us. Minko will be talking about it, and then that's it. So see you next Tuesday, and thanks again. Bye bye. Good night, everyone.
Bye bye, Santosh.
Thanks,
Good
man.
night, everyone. Thanks for